America's Cup is one of the world's most prestigious and historic races of all times, where the best and most talented sailors are pitted against each other in extreme flying catamarans that reach speeds up to 50 knots. And now, Swedish Artemis Racing has just one goal: to seize history's oldest sporting trophy, the Old Mug. The city that never sleeps is world-renowned for many things, but very few would probably associate New York with sailing. However, the city has a proud maritime heritage. The New York Yacht Club claimed a famous victory in the first ever edition of the America's Cup and remained undefeated for over 132 years. In early May, America's Cup racing returned to the city for the second race of the Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series. And as the teams arrived, it was not just the bad weather with rain and cold that was the subject on everyone's mind.
I think it's going to be an amazing showcase of our sport. We're in the biggest city in the world, the iconic skyline of New York, with these amazing catamarans in front. It's got an opportunity to take sailing to a whole new audience. But the conditions here in New York weren't designed for sailboat racing, that's for sure, and strong currents and the wind coming off the buildings is going to make for some exciting stuff, some random racing too, to be honest.
The most complicated thing I think here in New York for us is going to be the current. You know, being on the Hudson River, there's often a lot of flow, you know, going north to south on the way out. So it's going to be a challenge for sure.
Following the team's light wind performance in Oman, Artemis Racing decided to make some changes to the crew positions for New York.
One of the things that we've identified is that our strengths seem to be the foiling conditions, the stronger winds, when it's just the wing and the jib. Much more like, say, what the turbo sailing is like and what the America's Cup will be in the 50s. But for the World Series, a lot of the racing is about this boat handling, managing your soft sails well, and we felt that we needed to make a bit of a change, bring a bit more experience onto the boat. So we brought Christian Camp into the squad for this week. He's done a lot of extreme 40 sailing, you know, plenty of keelboat sailing, and his biggest strength is his trimming skill.
Jeg har sejlet her en gang før for mange år siden, 10-15 år siden, og det er vældig specielt. Det er jo, som man kan se i baggrunden, altså der er jo kæmpe højhuse alle vejen. Og hvis vindretningen den er østlig eller vestlig, jamen, så har vi altså højhusene i spil. Vi skal sejle hurtigt. Det er så min rolle ombord at sørge for, at vi gør det. Og der bliver rigtig meget pres på taktikeren, også for at træffe de rigtige beslutninger her og nu sammen med rorsmanden. Så det bliver en fantastisk baggrund at sejle op af. Lad os se, hvordan sejladsen bliver. Jeg tror, det bliver lidt cirkussejlads, men lad os nu se.
My name is Simon Wattin. I'm in charge of performance analysis and prediction within Artemis team. I work closely with Nicholas Ruslan, who is in charge of all the CFD simulation, standing for Computational Fluid Dynamics. What I do is I try to make the boat sail on my computer, meaning I try to replicate what the AC boat is, how it is sailing, and what balance it achieves, and how fast it goes, how well it turns around corner, but in the virtual world, in order to be able to try different things, different concept of board or wing or setups on the computer before making them happen on the water. I use a program that we developed in Artemis that basically takes different physical models from each part of the boat, using results from either numerical simulation or naval architecture data to have an idea of what are the forces of each component of the boats. So this ties in with Nicolas' work on the computational fluid dynamics. What we usually do is with his specific fluid dynamic simulation tool, he's able to provide a series of results concerning, say, a foil or a wing, for instance, that I then integrate into a model that is able to tell me for any specific sailing condition what will be the effort generated by, say, that wing. And I do that for the wing, I do that for the foils, I do that for the hulls, for the rudders. And what I do is I try to balance all these efforts to have a sailing condition of the boat that is now balanced and replicates how the yacht is actually sailing in the real life. This is a continuous improvement. Every time we sail, we try to confront these predicted numbers against the data that we log from the boat on a daily basis. This is an important part of my work as well, to make sure that we're not off with the prediction, because the prediction helps us to make decisions, so we want to make decisions based on good numbers. So say we on the design phase, we do a decision, then we apply it on the water and we kind of back check whether it matches what we actually predicted, and we try to always look at the real boat and stay within an acceptable margin of error. Doing this simulation prior to making pieces allows us to explore much more options in the computer, because it's free, it's virtual, and if we have good confidence in that, then we'll save a lot of time by making 10 virtual candidates in a week, say, rather than building one of them actually that will then be maybe 3 months or 6 weeks, depending on the part. So that allows us to explore many options and compare them to each other and move forward to, when we build something, be sure that it's the right way, or it's the way forward, or the way that we want to go to.
In downtown Manhattan, large crowds had gathered on shore in anticipation of the start of the second Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series of the year, in the hope of some exciting racing. And the first day of sailing was certainly spectacular, but perhaps not exactly in the way intended.
That none of us had ever seen before. Only one boat was unpenalized when they all went across the starting line. 4 of the 6 were over early, and only 3 boats made it to the first mark. Why? Because the breeze completely shut down.
Shifty winds and strong currents made the catamarans almost unmanageable, and the race organizers took the decision to cancel Saturday's racing. Day 2 promised much better conditions on the Hudson, and Artemis Racing took their good form into race 1 on Sunday, with tactician Ian Percy making a winning call at the first mark rounding.
You see Artemis Racing, Kent, splitting off at 11 knots. They choose the cleaner water, an early decision from them.
Artemis Racing then built an unassailable lead, crossing the finish line over a minute ahead of runner-up Land Rover Ball.
Wow, look at that. New York City, nice job coming out in force.
Race number 1 is now complete, and the win goes to Artemis Racing of Sweden and Nathan Outteridge, their skipper.
Yeah, race 1 was good. We had an okay start. We were in the hunt, and we made the right decision at Mark 1 to make a jibe and got into the pressure and had like a nice lead at the bottom mark. Had to fend off a bit on the first beat, and then again took a right turn at the top and sailed away from the fleet with a huge lead by the first bottom mark.
At the start of race 2, Artemis Racing made an almost perfect approach to the line, but were judged to have crossed a fraction too early. That penalty was soon followed by a second after a challenge from Land Rover Bar.
When we move into the next two races, an OCS penalty on the start must have been really close, and that cost us pretty badly. We still went around the bottom mark in third, but then we got a penalty from Ben for still some unknown reason. We had an overlap on the inside, and then he started luffing us, and we couldn't tack because the mark was there. And so then he just ran straight into us. It was a bit of a shock.
In race 3, the strong current and shifty conditions once again made life tough for the teams, and at the end it was Emirates Team New Zealand who incredibly found the only wind on the course to cross the finish line in first place and claim the overall regatta victory. In the next episode of Artemis Racing Road to Bermuda, we will travel to Chicago and the third Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series event of the year.